You want to make them miss you? Here's the hard truth. People don't miss what's always available. They miss what suddenly goes quiet, what disappears, what used to be there, feeding their ego, checking in, constantly present, and then one day isn't. The moment you pull your energy back, the moment you stop pouring into someone who never realized how much they depended on your presence, that's when the power shifts. See, silence is not just the absence of noise, it's a strategy, a language, a statement. When you stop chasing, when you stop texting, calling, checking their stories, reacting to their posts, you create space. And that space is uncomfortable for them. Not because they care deeply right away, but because human beings are creatures of habit. They got used to you being there, to your energy filling up the silence, to the validation you gave without asking for anything in return. And when that validation goes away, they're forced to sit in the silence and wonder, what happened? This is where your absence begins to speak louder than your words ever did. The late night texts stop, the good morning messages disappear, and for the first time, they begin to realize they had something they didn't appreciate. The silence starts to echo. It reminds them of how you used to be so easy to reach, so predictable. Now, you're unpredictable. That shift creates uncertainty, and uncertainty leads to obsession. Now they're checking your page. Now they're scanning your activity. Now they're asking mutual friends what you've been up to. The silence you've created becomes the loudest reminder that your presence was never a guarantee. And the most powerful part, you didn't say a word. You just stopped showing up where you weren't valued. But let's be clear, silence isn't about playing games or manipulating someone. It's about respecting your own energy. It's about refusing to beg for the attention or love that should have been mutual in the first place. When you finally stop showing up for someone who never truly showed up for you, you don't lose them, you find yourself. They will miss you, but not because you forced them to, because you finally let them feel what life is like without your consistent, loyal, loving presence. And believe me, the silence will speak everything you've ever wanted to say. Have you ever noticed how the more emotionally reactive you are, the less people seem to take you seriously? The more you care out loud, the more they pull back. It's not fair, but it's real. People value what feels rare, not what feels desperate. And this is exactly why mastering emotional detachment is one of the most powerful ways to make someone miss you deeply, because it places you in control of your energy instead of letting your emotions control you. Most people operate from a place of fear of losing someone, fear of being forgotten, fear of not being enough. So they overcompensate, they call too much, text too fast, over-explain their feelings, and seek closure they'll never get. But when you do that, you hand your power away. You're not being vulnerable, you're being emotionally absent. That imbalance is what kills attraction. What keeps people wanting you isn't your availability, it's your self-control. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you don't feel. It doesn't mean you become cold or robotic. It means you pause, you assess. You refuse to let someone else's inconsistency dictate your peace. You stop reacting to breadcrumbs and start responding only to real effort. That silence after they ignore your message, let it be. That delay in their replies, don't feed it. You become calm, still, focused. That stillness creates mystery, and mystery creates interest. People start to wonder why you're not reacting the way you used to, why you're not fighting to stay in their life anymore. They notice the emotional shift. You're not angry, you're not begging, you're just unavailable. Not physically, but emotionally. And that absence, that vacuum, becomes heavy. They feel it, they think about it, and whether they admit it or not, they start to miss the emotional access they once had to you. You have to understand that the more you chase, the more they run. But when you become still, emotionally detached and self-possessed, they're forced to slow down and pay attention. Your peace becomes more attractive than your attention ever was. And that's when the dynamic changes. Now you're the one choosing. Now they're the one wondering. That's how you shift from being an option to being a loss. So the next time you feel the urge to react, to send that long message, to beg for clarity, stop. Breathe. Remember who you are. You don't need to chase what's real. You only need to protect your peace. And when you do that, trust me, they'll start to realize what they lost. Do you want to know what really haunts someone who took you for granted? watching you become everything they didn't believe you could be without them. Nothing creates a deeper sense of longing and regret than seeing you rise while they're stuck replaying the last time they had access to you. And that's why leveling up in their absence is one of the most effective ways to make them miss you. Not with words, not with revenge, but with transformation. Most people expect you to crumble when they leave. They think you'll wait around, check their updates, send them messages at midnight, hoping they'll miss you too. That's the version they feel safe forgetting, the one who was broken, confused, and still craving them. But when you disappear quietly and start investing that same energy into building yourself, something shifts. You don't post to prove a point. You evolve because it's personal. You stop looking back and start showing up for yourself. Suddenly, the glow they didn't notice becomes undeniable. Your confidence changes. The way you speak, dress, move, it all levels up. You're not trying to show off. You're just walking in your worth now. And that's what stings the most for them, because it's not just that you're doing better. It's that you're doing it without needing them to see it, validate it, or be part of it. And this isn't just about looks or money or social status. It's about energy. You become harder to access, not because you're pretending, but because your life is fuller now. You're building something. You're healing for real. Your silence becomes attractive, your growth becomes intimidating, and your peace becomes magnetic. That's when the regret hits them. That's when they begin to remember the moments you were soft, present, and giving. Now they see someone who doesn't need their attention to shine, someone who became the best version of themselves once they stopped begging to be seen. They'll scroll through your photos longer, revisit old messages, wonder if you think of them the way they now think of you. But you don't, because you're too busy creating a life so fulfilling that their memory becomes smaller with every step forward you take, and no text or call can compete with that silence. The kind of silence that screams, you've moved on, you've grown, and you've outgrown needing to be missed. Let them watch, let them wonder. The version of you they ignored will never exist again. You want to know the real reason they stopped appreciating you? It's because your presence became too predictable, too easy, too constant. And the hard truth is, what's always available rarely feels valuable. People don't miss what's always within reach. They miss what feels exclusive, what requires effort, what can't be taken for granted. That's why if you want to make someone miss you deeply, you have to stop giving your presence so freely. Make your presence a privilege, not a given. We live in a world that tells us love means constant access, always replying fast, always showing up even when it's not mutual, always proving that we care. But in doing that, we train people to expect our energy on demand, even when they haven't earned it. And once they expect it, they stop valuing it. They stop noticing the small ways you show up, the emotional labor you carry, the way you always make space for them. It becomes background noise. And the longer you stay in that space, the more invisible you start to feel. Pulling back isn't about punishment. It's about clarity. It's about letting someone feel your absence so they can truly understand what your presence brought to their life. When you stop replying instantly, when you don't always say yes, when you prioritize your peace over their convenience, something shifts. Suddenly they realize you had boundaries they never respected. And now they're unsure of their place in your world. That uncertainty is where missing you begins. You don't have to cut them off completely. You just need to create space. Space where they have to come forward instead of you always leaning in. Space where your energy isn't assumed, it's earned. Let them text first. Let them wait. Let them wonder if you're still thinking about them. And in that silence, in that distance, they'll begin to feel the weight of your absence. The way you used to remember the little things, the way you made them feel seen, the effort you gave without hesitation. What they miss most won't be your body, your smile, or your presence. It'll be the feeling of being chosen by someone who didn't need to choose them. That feeling is rare, and when it's gone, it lingers. Don't be afraid to retreat from people who didn't know what to do with your presence, because the moment they realize they no longer have access to your light, they'll finally understand just how bright it was. You don't have to message them. You don't have to beg for their attention. You don't even have to say a word. Sometimes the most powerful way to make someone miss you is through everything they see around you, not directly from you. Indirect triggers, That's where the real magic happens. It's the subtle ways you show them you've moved on, you're doing better, and you're becoming someone they no longer have access to. This isn't about playing games, it's about understanding how the human mind works. When someone pulls back from you, they expect you to chase. When you don't, their curiosity starts to grow. But curiosity alone isn't always enough. You have to feed it strategically, not by reaching out, but by letting your energy speak through your environment, your progress, your presence in spaces they didn't expect to find you. This is where social proof becomes your strongest ally. They're scrolling online and suddenly they see you at an event, looking calm, confident, surrounded by people who value your energy. Maybe they hear your name come up in conversation, someone praising you, someone laughing at your joke. You're not talking to them, but your presence is being felt. Your name is still echoing. That indirect reminder, it hits different because they realize, even in their absence, your life didn't pause. It evolved. And they weren't part of it. It's even more powerful when your growth doesn't look like revenge, but peace. You're not trying to flex or show off. You're just glowing, you're moving, you're focused. And people start noticing, not because you're shouting about your progress, but because you're showing up in the world differently, more grounded, more attractive, more untouchable. That quiet strength becomes the most haunting thing to the person who thought they could come and go as they pleased. They'll see it in your smile, in that photo you didn't post for attention. They'll hear it in the way others speak about your new focus, your discipline, your ambition. They'll feel it when they notice you haven't been watching their stories, reacting to their posts, or orbiting their world like before. And suddenly it's them who are watching, waiting, wondering if you've forgotten them completely. What hurts the most isn't your absence. It's your success without them. It's realizing they're not the reason you're shining. They were the pause before your rise, and you never had to announce it. The world announced it for you. That's the quiet revenge. That's the indirect trigger that hits hardest. Sometimes the best way to be missed is to stop trying to be remembered and start living in a way that's impossible to ignore. There's something unbelievably powerful about the moment you stop trying to be seen and start seeing yourself. That shift, that quiet internal switch, changes everything. Because the truth is, people don't start missing you when you beg for their attention. They miss you the moment you stop needing it. The moment you pull your energy inward. The moment you become the kind of person who no longer looks for validation, but walks in their value. We all know what it feels like to crave someone's approval. You overthink your messages, your responses, your presence. You replay conversations in your head, wondering if you did too much or too little. You wait by your phone, hoping for a reply, a reaction, anything. But in doing that, you lose your power. You stop being the person they were drawn to and start becoming someone who's always reaching, and reaching too much never gets you held. It gets you overlooked. But something happens when you stop looking outward, when you sit with yourself, when you choose silence over begging, when you wake up one day and say, I'm done trying to prove my worth. That's when you start showing up differently. You stop chasing people and start chasing your goals. You stop seeking connection and start building direction, and that's when they feel it. The weight of your absence, the depth of your focus, the fact that they are no longer the center of your attention. Suddenly, your life is moving without them, not out of spite, not to prove anything, but because your time and energy are now aligned with something bigger. You're not waiting to be chosen, you're choosing yourself every day, in every decision. That's when you become unforgettable, not because you demanded attention, but because you no longer needed it. And the truth is, nothing confuses someone more than watching you glow in silence. They'll feel the shift. Not because you posted something to get their reaction, but because you didn't. Not because you said you're over it, but because you stopped saying anything at all. You stopped explaining, you stopped performing, and in that stillness, you became magnetic. When you stop being available for people who treated you like an option, you become the one that got away, not because you vanished, but because you evolved. So don't focus on making them miss you. Focus on becoming the kind of person they have to miss, not because you chased them, but because you walked away and never looked back.